name is Frazer. I'm from Margaon. I live in Patorda and a very passionate heritage enthusiast, specifically concentrating on Goan tangible and intangible heritage. And one of my key interests is the sacred art from Goa, that is specifically the Indo-Portuguese Christian art that Goa is blessed with. Okay, so today, since this exhibition here is one that speaks exclusively about Goa's beloved saint, that is São Francisco Xavier, some of my objects which I chose to bring here are all statuettes of the same saint. Okay, so what you see here are images from the 18th to the early first half of the 20th century. Most of these images are wooden. However, there are some that are composite in nature. When I say composite, they are a combination of wood and ivory or bone. And there is one statue which is entirely of bone, which you see here, which is from the 18th century, okay, and adorned with a silver halo. Also, two statues, that is this one right here and this one right here, is made of a different kind of wood which is not very common. It's called ebony, and which was probably imported from Africa, and the sculpture would have been made here in Goa. You had a lot of these artisans, especially from places like Chimbel and Ribandar and Raya, to name a few, that made sculptures for Christian churches. Also to mention, one very important community is the Chitari community from Holi, which was very much involved in making artworks, not only for pujas and so on and so forth, or the toys that you see now, but also for the church and the chapels and for Christian homes. If you see, however, today the community no longer makes Christian art in today's times. If you visit the chapel of Nuestra Señora de Piedad in Margaon, you will see a beautiful table made by the Chitari community. Also in my own collection, I have a couple of these works made by the community in Chitari, that is candle stands and a few ceremonial utilities from the altar. So I am very much into preserving Christian art of Goa because of the fact that this Christian art need not have been made by Christians. It could be made by people of different backgrounds. It could be made by Hindus, by Muslims, by Buddhists, thus incorporating their own styles in whatever works they crafted. And hence, I personally feel it is a must for us as Goans to take care of what we own in our homes and carry it ahead to the future generations to come. So I have been collecting religious art since 2014. And now a custodian of over 800 plus objects from the first half of the 17th to the first half of the 20th century in different materials. And I also have I don't have a physical museum where people can come and visit. It's all in my house, but I would want this collection to be viewed by people so that others can appreciate the rich heritage that Goa is blessed with in terms of its art. And the only way I currently do it is through my page that I have on Facebook. It's called as Indo-Portuguese and Goan Christian Art. If you are an art buff or a history enthusiast, do check it out. And if you have any queries related to sacred art in Goa, feel free to contact me at any point of time. If I am not aware of anything, I'll definitely get back to you at a later time. So this is Frazer. Thank you so much.
So right now, how many statues you have and how you collected this from? How you got this?
So as far as the statues is concerned, I'm not sure how many I have, but I have a detailed inventory of how many I have at home. But as far as the total objects of sacred art is concerned, I have about over 800 objects. Now, this is a mix of not only statues, it can be statues, it can be souvenirs, it can be medals, it can be vestments, it can be sacred vessels, it can be missals used in the church, it can be different things which are of Christian origin. Okay, so how I acquired them? Well, some of it is my ancestral, both my paternal and maternal sides I have inherited. Some has been gifted to me by people who know that I collect. And more, I have also purchased a lot of things. As a child, I would in fact use my pocket money to buy these things when I would generally carry my tiffin from home. But sometimes if Mama said, okay, today you eat outside, I would save that money to buy these kind of things or to buy certain things required to preserve what I already have at home. So that was in me since a long time, and that is how I was able to gather what I have today and hoping to save even more in the future.
So as you said, the statue is made of wooden. So which wooden? And the few of the statues' hands are not there. So what is exactly story?
Yes, so as you have observed and pointed out rightly, most of these statues are made in wood. Some statues were also made in ivory and some were also made in bone. Now ivory and bone look similar, so the bone was a cheaper version to ivory. Those who could not afford ivory maybe would opt for bone, which looked same as ivory. Okay, as far as the type of wood is concerned, generally the wood used for making sculpture was something called as shivan. Now shivan is a wood that is white in color and is of very light weight. It is not very heavy. So thus it was an ideal material to build tall altars, because on a height you needed lesser weight. So that's why these churches opted for this kind of wood, that is shivan. However, at rarer occasions there are also instances where these sculptures are made from ebony. Now ebony is an expensive wood compared to the shivan and was imported from Africa, and this could have been sculpted in Goa in 3 places like Ribandar, Chungbel or Raya, just to name these 3. It could have been in other places also, and sometimes these figures were not made by one person. The hands were made by one, the head was made by one, the body was made by one, based on the expertise of the members of the family. So the children who had not much practice would be given the easier parts to carve. Okay. So also there was pressure from the church at that point of time to make beautiful sculpture. Because if you look at sculpture made in the 18th century and sculpture made in the 20th century, it is way different. The sculpture made in the 20th century is very simple and lacks decoration. This is because the church did not encourage art as such in the 20th century, where it focused more on spirituality in the 20th century. While in the 18th century, it focused on both spirituality and artistic element, because art was the medium through which these priests could communicate what they wanted to. Since most of the missionaries that came were from outside Goa, they obviously didn't know Konkani in the start. So art was the only medium they could communicate and say what they wanted to, in the form of painting, statues, sculpture, and even drama in the church. So this was mediums that were used by these missionaries in a hurry at that point of time.
So as of now you are sharing the information about the Goencho Saib. Now 18th exposition is going on. So have you visited?
Yes, as far as the exposition is concerned, I have visited at least 4 times. Yes, and also with a lot of chaos happening with regards to the Goencho Saib effect, I have written a lot on Saint Francis Xavier, emphasizing on topics such as the medical tests performed on the body, the controversies associated with Saint Francis Xavier, and the genuineness of the body of Saint Francis Xavier. Also the interesting staff that is there, you see in the last case, there is a staff with a golden handle. So these minute details I have written about so that people are aware and learn and kind of appreciate what they have, because many times we see there but we neglect certain details. So when you have things like these, I feel attention is paid to minute details, and that is what I'm trying to do through writing, through the skill of writing that I've invested.
So right now ongoing, this is the 18th exposition going on. So how many expositions you attended?
So I have attended the exposition of 2004, 2014 and 2020. This is my third exposition.
So how you see this year's arrangement, especially when you waited in the veneration land and once you enter the Cathedral
First
Church?
and foremost, the traditional expositions that used to happen, one change that I see is the queue would enter through the side door of the Cathedral, which is on the left side of the Cathedral, and thus what would happen is people would soon get an access to the sacred relics. But in the bargain, they would not be able to appreciate the grandeur of such a magnificent building built by our ancestors. So with this year's arrangement, it is very good that people are able to have a glance at the grandeur of the magnificent Cathedral that we have today. Also, if you looking at the procession that was carried out, generally people would flock with near the body, and this crowd. So this time it was way planned, well planned, with not much crowd at all, and there was a smooth flow of the procession from the Basilica de Bom Jesus to the Saint Cathedral. So these are some things that I admire, and also with the services of the wheelchairs and the buggies and things like that by the government. Also they have made things much more easier in collaboration with the Archdiocese of Goan.
Sir, as you are collecting many things related to this history, so any future plans of yours which you can tell us?
One of my future plans is to catalogue this whole collection that I have into publication, because I think at the moment these things are just in my house, which no one can appreciate except for those who follow my page. But otherwise this material is really worth a research study, so that these things can be carried ahead and to a wider audience, which is otherwise not possible. And I would like to exhibit these in a permanent display someday, definitely giving with due credits and a lot of. I would like to first of all acknowledge and thank all the people who have at many times gifted me these images, knowing that I collect. They have come forward and gifted me a lot. Some I have purchased and some are ancestral, as I mentioned. So thanks to all of them and all those who have supported me in putting this collection together and helping me document. So if anyone, any students I would approach, if you all have projects, assignments, please feel free to contact me. We could work on any of these pieces and study them in the future, thus creating a database of the ancestral heritage that we have for those interested in the future for further research.
Sir, last question for you. Initially when you started collecting, how was the response from your family and support?
Interesting question. Okay, so it was not very easy because, as you know, many of these statues are broken, and worse, they are not from my house, they are from others' houses. So collecting religious statues from someone else's house and bringing them into my house was a big no initially, because, you know, as typical traditional Indians, having broken idols in one's house is considered as a big no, because it's considered as inauspicious. So when I have not just one but hundreds of statues with broken arms, so you can imagine how much I had to face. And in fact, there were people who said that I collect garbage. Not only laymen, in fact, even the clergy, the priests, many of the younger priests said, Frazer, you are just wasting your time collecting garbage and waste. There was one priest who said, there is no need of art if God is in your heart. So these kind of statements made by the custodians of art is really hurting to me, because our churches are treasure troves of this kind of art, and with a lot of ignorance, a lot of churches are disposing this off. And I would request all, both the church and the laymen who attend services in the church, to appreciate this grandeur and the art created by our ancestors and carry it down the lines to the generations to come.
So going through such a lot of hurdles, right now are you happy with your journey?
Yes. As far as my journey is concerned, I am very happy with also, like I said, people opposing. There were many who supported also. So there were friends, one to mention is Charlotte Puttad from Gatalpati, who has spent a lot of time in requesting people and introducing me to people, thus making more people aware of what I do. In addition to preserving this tangible heritage, I also put an effort to preserve the intangible heritage. That is, the church is blessed with such amazing, beautiful Latin singing, which now the church discourages, if you see. Those are pieces which cannot be kept in a museum. For them to be living, you have to practice them. They are living antiquities. So as a youth from my parish itself, I try to upkeep this tradition of Latin singing in my parish. However, I am not encouraged, but rather discouraged in my own parish to do this. Okay. Also, apart from this, I also have an initiative called Green Gods. Now, what is Green Gods? That's an interesting concept. So today the markets are flooded with plastic religious sacramentals. So we all know if there is a broken statue, like I just said, it is inauspicious and people want to dispose it. Now, if there is a plastic statue, how would you dispose it? Would you put it in a river, or would you burn it, or would you bury it? So in that way you would destroy his own creation in his name. That is a big no to as far as my understanding is concerned. So opt for religious art which is made from natural materials like wood. There are still artisans struggling with their businesses to come up with, to make this kind of religious art. So when I myself do a lot of this kind of art, thus promoting greener gods, sustainable figurines, and in the bargain promoting these local traditional artisans, and at the same time opting for sustainable religious culture which will not pollute the environment in the long run.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.